Hello everyone, tonight we are standing in a forest that doesn't remember sunlight. You are here among bark that flakes like peeling paint from abandoned rooms beneath branches that hum without wind. There is something waiting just past the edge of the firelight, something tall and still and listening. You probably won't survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You found the clearing by accident. That's how these stories always begin. You weren't supposed to stray from the ridge path, but the ground tilted under you soft with loam and moss, and the trees leaned in like they wanted you to notice something. Or maybe they were just tired of hiding it. There's a ring in the soil barely perceptible at first. A circular dip where nothing grows taller than your ankle. No mushrooms, no insects. Even the fallen leaves seem to hesitate here. You crouch down, brushing the damp earth with your hand. The impression is too perfect to be natural. It's wide, deep, and ancient, a fire circle, but there's no soot, no stones, just the shape. Like the memory of warmth left a bruise on the ground, above you the canopy tightens. You take a breath and it smells like burnt sap and wet iron. Like something old tried to remember itself and failed. A sharp kek sound echoes nearby. A forest rail, maybe? Or a mimic. Some ancient birds still copy sounds they haven't heard in thousands of years. Paleontologists in Patagonia once found a fossil of a bird's syrinx, its voice box preserved well enough to digitally recreate its cry. It didn't sound like a bird. It sounded like a door creaking open underwater. The same sound stirs now behind you. You stand very still. The trees are too symmetrical here. They make a circle too. You count 12 trunks spaced just slightly too evenly. The species vary oak fern something fossil black and gnarled, but they all curve inwards as if shaped by the same ritual hand. If trees were teeth, this would be a mouth. And you're standing on its tongue. Someone's carved symbols into the bark. Not runes, not letters. Just loops and spirals, some with dots in the center, some that coil like ammonites. One resembles the eye spot of a peacock feather. You think of the Cycladic idols, those featureless Neolithic figures with only a nose and blank shield faces. Statues too abstract to smile. Some researchers still argue whether those idols were gods or dolls or something in between. Your hand brushes the lowest carving. The bark is cold, much colder than it should be. You jerk away and the tree shivers, not from wind, from something else. Behind you a branch snaps. Deliberately, you turn. Nothing, just the flicker of shadow between two roots. Something short, watching. For a moment you imagine it's a child, but the head is too round, too smooth, and it doesn't blink. The birds have gone silent. You know what silence means in a forest. You've heard the documentaries, predators mute the trees, but there's something else predators don't do. They don't wait this long. You step backward. The circle crunches under your feet with the sound of dry insects. The thing doesn't move. You say out loud because silence demands a sacrifice. Nice to meet you. It tilts its head. You blink. It's gone. You should leave, but your foot doesn't move. The carvings on the tree begin to glow, just faintly, like moss under moonlight. You try to convince yourself it's bioluminescent fungus. Some mushrooms do that foxfire the early settlers called it, but foxfire doesn't form spiral eyes, and it doesn't pulse. You should absolutely leave. But you're still here. The ring around your feet starts to steam. The heat doesn't rise from below. It comes from the air, dense and heavy, as if exhaled by something far too close. a warmth like breath across the back of your neck, and then a sound, quiet, rhythmic liquid. Swash, swash. Not water, not wind. It's cloth, dragged in a circle. You are not alone in the ring anymore. You don't see the others, but you hear them. You feel them. They do not speak, but they're repeating. Repeating something that was never spoken aloud. Some ritual made of footsteps and absence. You can almost hear the words they never say. You think of the excavation site in Göbekli Tepe, those strange Neolithic pillars arranged in circles, carved with foxes, snakes, vultures. The oldest temple known. The theory was that humans gathered to perform rituals long before they settled down. That belief came first, then farming. But belief in what? You take another step back. A twig snaps beneath your heel. All at once the carvings go dark. The heat vanishes, and you are standing in an empty ring again. You do not move. You do not speak. But from the trees behind you a voice does. It sounds like your own, and it says, "You're late." You don't answer. Not because you can't, but because answering would make it real. You've read enough folklore to know how these things work. Say the wrong word and the rules shift. The clearing is quiet again. The trees lean in listening. Still 12, still symmetrical, still teeth. You move toward the edge. The voice doesn't follow, but something else does. A feeling, not touch, not sound, not smell. A pressure. Like the forest is gently pressing its index finger against your sternum, testing whether you belong here. A few meters ahead, the undergrowth parts. Not from your steps, from its will. There's a path now, one you didn't see before. It curls like a fern, unfurling. You follow it. It would be rude not to. The path dips low and curves around a pool you hadn't noticed. Its surface is a flawless mirror. Completely still. No insects, no falling leaves, not even a tremble of air. You step closer. Your reflection isn't yours. The shape in the water mimics your movement but not your details. It lacks your clothes. Its limbs are longer, its hands curl differently. Its head is tilted at an odd listening angle. And it does not blink. You look up quickly. The pool is undisturbed. But now you hear faint breathing, shallow, strained like a creature imitating the rhythm of something it doesn't need. The trees sigh above, and the branches creak in time. You walk on. Soon you reach a slope veiled in fog. The trees here are older, some partially fossilized, their trunks blackened like bones, burnt and buried too close to the earth's core. One has stone rings spiraling through its wood like an unearthed ammonite, reminding you that forests can be as old as the sea. It is here that the smell returns, burnt sap and wet iron. Your skin prickles. Someone once discovered that amber, the fossilized resin of ancient trees, can trap air bubbles from over 100 million years ago. When scientists cracked one open, they found oxygen levels that could have once supported dragonflies the size of seagulls. Some researchers still argue whether that air could be safely breathed, or whether something ancient in it would change you. You pause at a fallen log. That's not really fallen, it's kneeling like a bent leg mid-prayer. Something white marks its bark. Not fungus, not lichen. A circle of bone chips laid carefully. At the center, a tooth. Long, serrated, not human. You lean in. There's a carving beneath it, etched into the wood with something impossibly fine. A spiral of birds, each smaller than the last, descending toward the tooth. It's a summoning mark. The kind you'd see in stories written on bark paper. The kind cave artists once daubed behind the stag shadows so the animals would return in spring. A whisper rises behind you, not in words, but in meaning. Join. You place your hand on the log. The fog breathes in, and then you see it, a procession moving through the trees just beyond the mist. Shapes upright and quiet, robed in leaves. Faces hidden behind bark masks, too smooth to be carved by hand. One mask is cracked open, revealing teeth where no mouth should be. They move in a circle, always a circle. The one at the end of the line stops. It turns, slowly, like an owl noticing a twitch, and then it tilts its mask. That same tilt you saw in the clearing. You feel something inside your chest tighten like a name you forgot how to say. And you know deep down that if you blink, the figure will be closer. So you blink, and it's gone. You're not afraid. That's the strangest part. You should be, but the longer you stay, the more the fear folds into curiosity, then quiet understanding. Like you're remembering something you were trained to forget. The path continues uphill now. Trees arch into a natural dome, and the light, what little remains, grows green and dim. Moss hangs like curtains. You part them one by one as if entering a room no one lives in, but everyone remembers. In the center, a stone. Not just any stone. It's carved, worn smooth by centuries of ritual touch. Flat on top, circular, slightly concave in the center. You've seen altars in documentaries. They don't all look like this, but the air around it feels like an altar. You place your hand on the surface. It's warm, and then a breeze, but not a normal breeze. It whistles rhythmically through holes you cannot see, like breath pulled through ancient flutes. Like someone is playing a song that was forgotten before language. That's when you notice the figures. They're behind you again, but farther now, more than before. Watching from the fog. Their masks glow faintly as if reflecting a moon that hasn't risen yet. And this time you hear them. A chorus. Low, harmonic, almost humming. They are remembering something together. You want to ask them what it is, but all that escapes your mouth is a breath, and in it, another's. As if someone exhaled through your own lungs. A joke comes to mind, absurd and oddly soothing. At least they're social. You almost laugh. And then beneath the altar, the earth shifts. Just a tremble, a pulse. You step back and see what lies beneath the moss, a symbol. A familiar one. The same spiral of birds leading inward. But this time at the center is not a tooth. It's a mask. Half buried. And its eyes are open. You don't reach for the mask. Not because you fear what it will do, but because you fear what it might remember. Its eyes, carved into smooth stone, do not blink. But they seem to know you. Not from now. From before. From a time when masks were not worn to hide, but to invite something in. To share the face with someone else. You step back, but the forest leans closer. There is no exit. Not yet. You wander again, though. That word feels dishonest. You're being drawn. The forest arranges itself with gentle manipulations. A leaning trunk here, a low beam of mist there, a scent trail of crushed leaves with no footprints. Even the birds, those few that still call, sing in patterns that seem to tug at your ears. A trilling pulse, a pause, a mimic, a question. When the call comes again, it's not from a bird. It's from a head. A long rising note like the stretch of fabric over hollow bone. You follow. It leads you to another ring. This one's smaller, closer, more deliberate. The trees here aren't natural. They've been cut, carved, hollowed in places, and the wood bears symbols not just scratched but burned in. Spirals again, yes, but also teeth. Rows of them etched around the base of each trunk like necklaces. At the center of the ring lies a pile of something soft. You approach and see feathers. Black, iridescent, some long, some downy. A heap as if a bird the size of a man shed its body to leave only memory. They glisten like wet obsidian, and something glints among them. You reach gently because reverence feels mandatory and lift it. It's another mask. But this one is small, delicate, clearly shaped for a child's face or something smaller than human. Its expression is neutral, its mouth absent. Just two large eyes and a line across where the brow should sit. Like someone tried to carve peace, but the stone wouldn't let them. You hold it a moment too long, because something clicks. A dry wooden knock like antlers tapping a tree. You look up, and the figures have returned. This time they are not distant. They stand in a perfect circle around you, 12 of them evenly spaced like hours on a sundial. No footsteps, no approach, just presence. Bark masks smooth and inhuman angled slightly inward. Their arms hang down, fingers brushing the ferns like forgotten questions. No one moves. Then one lifts its hand, palm open, the same way you're holding the mask. It doesn't ask you to put it on. It waits for you to offer it back. Somewhere in your memory, a voice laughs. First rule of haunted forest etiquette. Don't accept gifts from the trees. You smile, quietly, ironically, and offer the mask. The figure accepts. There is no gesture of thanks, no sound. But something shifts in the forest. A breath, a softening. Then without a word, the figures dissolve, melting not into mist, but into the feeling of mist. And they leave the path open again. You walk for what feels like hours or minutes. It doesn't matter. Time folds here. It wraps around you like roots curling under a fallen log, patient and indifferent. You pass fossilized leaves embedded in the stones, their patterns too perfect to be random. Some form runes, others spiral like galaxies. One looks like a fingerprint. Yours. You reach a ridge where the land dips sharply, a valley of fogstone and impossible silence. No animals here, no trees, just earth worn smooth as if thousands of feet once circled this place. And at the bottom, a pit, circular, black, breathing. Not literally, of course. Not with lungs, but with intention. It exhales cool wind upward in intervals like the rhythm of sleep. You kneel at its edge, up my Uchen. Inside you see not darkness, but depth. Etched on the walls are rows of carvings. Not just spirals now, but masks. Hundreds. Some with eyes open, some with mouths screaming silently, some cracked in half. There's one that looks exactly like yours. Or how yours might look if you left it here for 1,000 years. You blink. It's gone. You lean closer. The wind from the pit carries voices, now faint layered, echoing in loops. Some researchers once suggested that pits like these were used for sound rituals. That Neolithic people carved chambers and holes not for burial but for resonance, for song, for something older than language to pass through them. Some still argue whether these sounds were meant to summon or to seal. You whisper into the pit, just one word. Why? And the answer comes not in speech but in image. You are standing in the clearing again, but it is burning. The trees are aflame, silent, unwrithing. The masked figures stand in a ring, perfectly still, perfectly calm, as fire consumes them one by one. But they do not fall. They do not run. They witness. You see yourself among them, wearing a mask not made of wood but of shadow. It clings to you like memory or debt. Then you are back at the pit's edge, alone. The wind has stopped. The spiral beneath your feet is faint but unmistakable. You do not move. But something within you has already turned. Like a page, like a mask, like a key. The next time you blink, it's night. Not in the usual sense. There is no sunset, no slow fall of color. The light has simply left, as though someone inhaled it and forgot to exhale. You are standing again in the first clearing, the same ring, the same trees, the same impossibly precise symmetry. Only now the ground pulses faintly under your feet, not with heat or tremor, but with memory. Something below you remembers walking. A long time ago, you kneel, press your hand to the soil. The hum rises, not sound, not vibration, but story. You close your eyes, and the earth tells you. There was a time before silence, before masks, before rings, before teeth, when the forest spoke plainly. It told the young when to sleep and the old when to leave. It called the dead back into the roots. But something interrupted that, something arrived. It asked questions, it tried to understand. And so the forest learned to lie. You open your eyes. All around the circle, masks are rising from the soil, not hovering, not summoned, just surfacing, as if the earth was holding its breath for centuries and finally exhaled. There are dozens, each different, each eyeless. Bark, bone, obsidian, resin. Some shaped like wolves, others like owls, others like nothing you recognize. One looks like a human face except the mouth is missing, and the eyes are vertical. You don't touch them, but they wait patient as mushrooms. You take a step backward and the trees creak gently, as if disappointed. There's no wind, just warning. You turn slowly, half expecting the robed figures again. They are not there. Something else is. Something taller, standing just beyond the ring, hidden almost entirely in silhouette. You can't see its face. You only know it's watching because the darkness behind it seems to lean away. It raises one hand and points, not at you. At the center of the ring, you hesitate, but the masks begin to tilt just slightly toward the center as well, one by one, as though nodding. You understand now. You are not supposed to put a mask on. You are supposed to become one. The story changes tone gently, like a lullaby turning sour. You walk to the center. The spiral is faint, carved not into the soil, but into the pattern of silence itself. You kneel, close your eyes, and listen. The forest answers not in voice, but in rhythm. First, a flutter like wings trapped in a jar. Then footsteps in dry leaves. Yours. But behind them, another set. Delayed by half a second. Not echo, not mimic. Just someone rehearsing your life from behind a curtain. And then the breath. That long, rattling sound again. It surrounds you. Not cruel, not kind. Just deeply, endlessly awake. You feel your thoughts begin to drift. Not away, but outward. As though the mind that used to be yours is now ambient, available, a tool for the ritual to borrow. You try to say your name, but it has holes in it now, letters missing. One vowel too soft, one consonant turned sideways. You laugh a little softly. Guess I won't need it anyway. Your voice doesn't echo. It falls, like a pebble into a well. You open your eyes. The clearing has changed. It's daytime again, but wrong. The light is filtered not through leaves, but through something older. The trees are the same shape, but their bark is smooth silver and shifting. The soil is red. Not clay, something else. And the figures are back. Only now they remove their masks. Each face is yours. Not quite. Variations. As if someone took your features and dreamed them in different directions. One is aged, weathered by centuries. One is childlike, but with cold, assessing eyes. One is covered in thin black feathers. One is smiling, but the smile is painted on. They form a circle and point to the sky. You look up. There's no sun. Only a massive spiral, vast and pale, stretching across the firmament like a fossilized galaxy. At the center, a mask. No features, just two open eyes, watching. You feel your body shift again. Not pain, not pleasure, just alteration. Like a river forgetting its path. You are not afraid, but you remember something strange. In an ancient cave in Indonesia, archaeologists found hand stencils over 40,000 years old. Red ochre outlines made by blowing pigment through hollow reeds. Some of the hands had missing fingers. No one knows why. Some researchers say frostbite. Others say ritual sacrifice. But one theory mostly ignored says the hands weren't incomplete. They were signals to someone watching from deeper inside. You feel your hands now. 5 fingers. For the last time. You stand. The other yous dissolve. The trees return. The clearing forgets. But the ring remains beneath your feet, waiting. You are walking. Not forward, not really. More like inward. Through folds of place that no longer behave like geography. The trees around you are familiar but slightly altered, like they've been dreaming versions of themselves and borrowed those dreams to become real. A fern waves though there is no breeze. A root pulses faintly with warmth. A tree you pass leans just enough to let you through as if it had been expecting you longer than you've been alive. This is the oldest part of the forest. You can feel it. You can also feel that you are not the first to reach it. The path becomes stone. Not laid by hand, no evidence of tools, but worn smooth like feet once knew to circle here and did so for centuries. The shape of the walk is always the same spiral, inward, never leave the center. You follow. Because resistance here is not defiance, it's rudeness. At the center of the spiral is a basin. Shallow, carved into dark green stone, the same hue as ancient moss beneath glacial melt. Inside a small pool, perfectly still. But not water. It's sap. Amber-colored, thick, viscous. You kneel. Inside the sap, something is floating. A mask again. This one half-formed as though it was never finished or never meant to be. One side bears a smooth, unblinking eye. The other, only absence. Just a curl of bark, soft and blank. You touch the basin's edge. And this time you remember, this is the mask you left here. You, before you had a name. Before your steps became your own. Before you borrowed skin and learned not to stare too long into the canopy. The forest returns your memory gently. Like an old story retold by someone who doesn't need to know what's true to know what matters. You sit at the basin's edge for a while. Time frays at its borders. The trees hum with low harmonic pressure. Far off you hear the kick again. But this time it's no mimic. It's a signal. Something old trying to speak in syllables that don't belong to any language we've preserved. Somewhere in the canopy, eyes open. Not glowing, not threatening, just present, like yours used to be. And then footsteps. Not behind you, all around. Figures begin to gather at the edge of the spiral. Dozens. They do not speak. They do not move. But they know. Some wear masks. Others are masks. Some hold objects, bones wrapped in leaves. Teeth strung into patterns, sticks bundled like primitive sigils. One holds a long strand of your hair, not because it belongs to you, but because it remembers how you used to be. You stand, the figures part, and you see what waits beyond. A tree, unlike the others, wider, taller, bark twisted into patterns you almost but not quite recognize. It leans backward as if pulled toward the stars. From its trunk hangs a ring of masks. Not decorations, not warnings, memorials. Each one left by someone who walked too far into the spiral and found what they weren't looking for. You approach. The masks turn toward you, not physically, just intentionally. And at the base of the tree you find the last one. Your face, not symbolic, not imagined. Your face, as it will be, made from bark, ash, feather, faint traces of gold dust clinging to the lips. You lift it, and behind you the forest exhales. No demand, no threat, just anticipation. You turn the mask slowly. Inside, scratched by a careful primitive hand, is a phrase in no known language, but you understand it. Wear this only if you remember what you were before you learn to forget. You hold it to your face and hesitate. Because behind the mask, you can't speak. And somehow that feels right. So you do. You wear it. You wear it like a story you've told too many times to remember the details, only the rhythm. And in that moment, everything stops. There is no ritual, no thunder, no scream, just stillness. And then not silence, but a sound so low it feels like memory. It hums in your teeth, in your bones, in your thoughts. You are a part of the forest now. Or perhaps the forest was always part of you. You walk back. No one follows. No one needs to. The spiral keeps spinning behind you. And the mask, now warm against your skin, slowly, patiently begins to close its eyes. So what are you now? A figure in the trees. A shadow in the mirror. A face that waits behind bark when the wind dies and the clearing hums. You'll forget the path you took. That's its kindness. You'll wake maybe back in your room with leaves in your hair and dirt under your nails, unsure whether you dreamt or wandered. But something small will have changed. The spiral will return in drawings you don't remember making. You'll hear footsteps half a second behind yours. And sometimes in mirrors, not the first glance, but the second, you'll catch a face that is almost yours, tilted slightly. Listening. You probably won't survive, but maybe that's not the point.